Hello and cheers. Welcome to Chicago Reacts. My name is Lauren and today I'm going to be reacting to Max0r's Project Wingman review. Nuclear planes defeat the Antichrist. I am all for defeating the Antichrist. Let's put him in a nuclear plane, I guess. I'm not sure how we're going to use nuclear planes to defeat him, but I'm fine with finding out. I can't wait to do it. I still have my margarita with me today. Just a classic margarita. Tequila, a little bit, mostly tequila, with a little bit of triple sec, a little bit of sour mix and lime. So that just is what makes a very simple margarita. Oh, to get the salt rim around it, I used a sort of mix of lemon juice, and you can use lime juice as well, and simple syrup just to sort of give it something to stick, and then I have margarita salt. So it's an easy way to do it. You can also literally just take a lemon wedge and just like run it around the side. You don't need to get the like agave nectar juice or the agave nectar to make the salt or sugar rim stick. Literally just rubbing like the lemon or the lime around it works. I don't have a lemon or a lime currently, so I used lemon juice and simple syrup to make that happen, and it was very effective. But now, without any further ado, let us get into Max0r's Project Wingman review. I have absolutely no idea what this game is about, except for maybe we're going to defeat an Antichrist. So, let's go. Oh, right. Drinking game. You know, usual, I guess. If someone on screen drinks, we'll drink. It doesn't happen often in these. If ever I pause to go back and rewatch a joke that I liked particularly, we'll do that. Because like we can't drink every single time I have to stop to get a joke, because his editing is intense a lot of the time, and I know for a fact I will miss stuff. I will try and catch it. I will miss things. I will catch them later, probably. That's happened to me like the last 6 times I've watched a Max0r video. It's like I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know how I missed that joke, but I did. So yeah, which is the end. Whenever I say something dumb, or like completely ridiculous, you can all take a drink. I won't necessarily know until later, but I'll be kind of just drinking throughout on my own anyway, because that's how I play. So let us begin.
Project Wingman is a game which encapsulates and defines the term competitive genocide. In a world where Yellowstone National Park has had enough, humanity is plunged into a post-apocalypse where the laws of war are null and void. Well,
apparently, sorry to stop this so quickly, but apparently the Yellowstone caldera is actually well past due for an eruption. Like that is, I mean, I refuse to like cite that because I can't remember where I found that, but apparently the Yellowstone caldera is, in fact, it should have erupted, and people are worried about it. If that is still true, let me know. If it's not true, and you know for a fact it's not true, I'll post a corrections video at some point, I'm sure. But you know, that is something I read, that we are in fact due for an eruption at Yellowstone.
We play as a mute, possibly autistic psychopath hell-bent on his mission to fight the Australian Illuminati, featuring such notable species as the land battleship, the battleship, and the battle bus, across a multitude of varied and interesting locations like the apocalyptic wasteland that is Los Angeles. Caught in the middle of a conflict between the Pacific Federation and Cascadia, our protagonist is forced to put aside his fight with Jack Sparrow in Louisiana to conduct a second American Revolution and facilitate tax evasion. As a member of the Sicario mercenary group, you're given the tools of destruction you need to fight off the Antichrist, because in this universe, the UN does not solve conflict, it starts it and then escalates it. So like most problems in the world...
Is that unlike our universe? Really?
We resort instead to base violence as a means of international dispute. Bring your jets, your guns, your bombs, and your napalms, because we're going absolute Barbarossa. Confused? Good. Yes. We live in a society where this is canonically...
Nostalgia Critic. Take a drink for Nostalgia Critic. Because I can never understand why he's in these videos, so we're gonna drink for Nostalgia Critic. I said that last time, but there was no Nostalgia Critic, so, haha, Nostalgia Critic, we're gonna drink for him.
Expensive as a Mercedes and holds 182 missiles. So if you want to see a parade of destruction, melodrama, questionable engineering choices, and King Crimson, then let me be your guide into the wonderful world of Project Wingman, humanity's first jet-centric game where California finally explodes.
I don't know why that struck me as so funny, but it did.
Now, I know what you're thinking. A jet game, Max? You've gone insane. Jet games are played by dads that have 12 keyboards and people with actual money. And while it may appear to you that I have money, it's only because I spend it very responsibly. You will be happy to know that Project Wingman is neither a simulation nor has it dug into my extensive budget. I would describe the game as more about piloting a slow Gundam than the actual intricacies of real air combat. Only in Project Wingman can you do the boss fight against the guy with 12 railguns and his force fields. And yes, the force fields do turn into railguns, just like real life. Most people think that jet combat is just about circling, and yeah, that's a thing. But the difference is in how it's contextualized and iterated on, which is by insane people. One mission you might be firefighting, and the next thing you know, Crimson 1 appears for the 6th time near the active volcano. How many flight games do you know include lava damage? And do you want to know the best part? The game is fully playable in VR. Please don't use a keyboard. Which allows you to do some goofy shit, like physically exiting your cockpit in the middle of a battle. Okay, it's a little windy, but I'm ready. Does anyone else feel lightheaded? I will say though that in order to get the real VR experience, you'll have to repeatedly rotate your head with the light brick strapped to it. I lasted 4 missions on average before the recoiling permanently morphed my spine. You use the radar in your plane by physically looking down, not that you'll be able to by the end. Reviewing the footage, I noticed that there were moments in the game where I just died. That's not me taking off the headset, I just gave up on life. No game will ever make you feel this old, and nothing increases the immersion more than specifically choosing planes with as little visibility as possible for the extra challenge. I beat the entire game in 2 painful sessions, but I had never experienced anything like this ever since my house nearly burned down while playing VTOL VR.
This is actually on fire.
So in terms of VR, it's a must-have, because only in VR can we express the true, paralyzing fear of driving. So how do we fly our death?
I might have to play this in VR. This looks kind of fun. It will definitely make me sick though, so maybe I shouldn't. I do have an Oculus, so like I might see what I can do with this. This could be interesting. I've always kind of wanted to do a flight simulator, and this is a dangerous looking one.
Machine. VR controls, after all, are difficult. Mr. Smart Guy over here thinks he knows how hands work. First of all, you'll need to get inside your real Project Wingman trademark plane. Turn on the main battery. Whatever this is, turn on the engines.
All right, for the rest of this video, we're also going to take a drink every time I do that weird siren laugh that I've done like 3 times already.
Hands work. First of all, you'll need to get inside your real Project Wingman trademark plane. Turn on the main battery. Whatever this is, turn on the engines, but not too fast. Close your canopy. Clasp the shitting grip. Display. I don't know what this does. Boot Windows. Microsoft Pinball. Smash that radar button.
That was a fun game.
Subscribe. Turn off the brakes. Make sure you give the joystick a good jiggle. Now, we're not going to use the carrier's catapult. We're just gonna pray. You'll notice I forgot to unfold the wings, which are now detached from the plane. Wingless percent speed. Oh, landing gear. You'll notice controlling an aircraft without wings is hard. That's alright, the guys on that destroyer don't have family. Now that we're in the air and in the correct game, what am I supposed to do? The answer is remarkably simple. Missiles. There's a reason you can carry several hundred of them. Missiles are fucking everything. Every specialized weapon for all your terrestrial needs are various permutations of a missile. It's actually a problem because, I mean, I guess you could use unguided bombs if you want to miss. Ace Combat at least had the gall to let me use an unguided laser, but I don't know, what else can you put on a jet? A fucking dolphin? I don't want to emulate the Wii. You also have the option of a gun, which might as well be a laser, and is the most reliable way to kill anything, including entire battleships. What is in the fucking ammo?
What is
worked like this, Chicago would be a nuclear wasteland by tomorrow, as opposed to the current wasteland that it is now. Besides that, the controls are exactly what I want out of it.
Cheers, Max0r. Cheers. 2 drinks for dissing Chicago.
Jet game, and I don't think they can be improved. What truly makes a combat encounter in the game isn't the simple controls, it's how they're multiplied by the 6 pursuing aircraft. Unlike Ace Combat 7, your allies have the ability to minorly inconvenience each other. They will do, per mission, at least $3 of damage. So the balance between you annihilating everything and there being an actual battle is pretty good, although majorly stacked. Your success is uniquely predicated on the fact that you play as the world's first bloodless human who experiences literally no side effects from the Jupiter strength G-forces that he regularly conducts. You use your newfound power to conduct a series of engagements. 21 engagements. That's a lot of potential war crime trials, which is why we have to win. That being said, anything that we do pales in comparison to the good accomplished by nuking America. We're gonna have to play catch-up. Our liberation will take us all across the video game against all manner of foes, including the planes, the big planes, armies of helpless soldiers with families and dogs, and the Federation fleet. Wait, who is that on my script. Oh, hi, me matey, it's me. Oh, fuck. But what really stands out are the boss fights. Yes, the plane game with boss fights. Shinji, get in the plane. We have to fight the angels or some shit. As for their weaponry, well, it's not physically possible. In order, you fight Crimson Squadron, French woman, and her Australian babe. It's 4 p.m. Time to get in the plane. Crimson Squadron, and Crimson Squadron's very angry nuclear enthusiast. More about him later. He's a guy. You can probably tell that it's character and the dialogue that keeps the game alive. Project Wingman would be an entirely different game if you weren't constantly hearing more complaining than a fucking call center. Silence is so rare that when your ally flips his shit and demands people stop fucking talking, everyone is surprised. So just by playing the game, you get a lot of lore. So I think it's a good time to talk about that. Our story begins, like many, in Wyoming, where Yellowstone National Park does a little trolling, causing the tectonic plates to fucking rupture. In an instant, the entire modern age and Christianity in particular is ended. This, however, created a mysterious, volatile material called cordium, which effectively gave everyone free geothermal energy. And also bombs. What emerged hundreds of years later are the countries of the Pacific: Neo-Mongolia, Large Hawaii, Oceania, and Cascadia. Oceania in particular was once invaded by a cabal of mercenaries attempting to establish diamond dogs or some shit. Thank God that we had Skullface there to help us out. In fact, nearly every military engagement since then has been swayed exclusively by methed up mercenaries. To prevent further challenges to their rule, the Federation tightened its power to include all of the death squads. But primarily, Cascadia was just mad that other people were allowed to use the limitless supply of energy that they had and wanted to sell it to everyone else at a ridiculous markup. This sets the scene for a war of independence which you are caught in the middle of, or rather, insert yourself into for money. Now the thing is, Cascadia is a real nation that exists in the imagination of insufferable people, so I can attest that the geography of where I live is well suited to guerrilla warfare. The entire Cascadian fleet, for instance, is one stolen ship called the Eminent Domain. The Federation, though, is not without a contingency plan. All across their empire, the Federation establishes peacekeepers, that's the real name, elite fighter squadrons of questionable sanity and engagement timing. The peacekeepers—
You know the peacekeepers are the bad guys, though. They're always the bad guys.
That's the real name. Elite fighter squadrons of questionable sanity and engagement timing. The peacekeepers are so confident that they arrive late to every single battle that they're in. This directly causes their failure 90% of the time, by the way. The peacekeepers—
I guess that is the other option. The peacekeepers are always the bad guys, or they are just bad at their job. I don't know. For whatever, I just get like immediate bad vibes when I hear, oh, they're the peacekeepers. It just, oof.
We encounter are the Crimson Squadron, one such group of elites so dedicated that they risked losing their entire air force, went to a volcanic suicide mission, and nuked millions of people because you owned them. Their squadron is led by the infamous and powerful Crimson One, who was elected the whitest among all Oregonians. Unfortunately, he's quite dedicated. Crimson One's idea of protecting his homeland under the banner of the Federation involves nuking it. Twice. It's like he's trying to make anime. He's saving his people from the pain of living. What barbarism will people slip into if we don't have the common travel passes? He's a blast to fight, unlike his friends. I wouldn't consider fighting his squadron to be the peak of gameplay. The game's bosses can be divided into two categories: bosses that have railguns and this shit. You dodge the Crimson Squadron's missiles by rapidly turning as they approach, but Crimson Squadron themselves are always rapidly turning, sometimes at a 90-degree angle, meaning there is no nuance. While pursuing them, you are invincible. Here's how you fight Crimson Squadron: turn towards them, fire a missile, miss, fire a missile, repeat like 10 times until they die. Oh, and you gotta do this like 8 different times for each individual plane. I am progressively losing my mind. My name is Cleveland Brown. All in all, dogfights and lore, you know, that's pretty cool, but that's not why you should play the game. Project Wingman is the manic pixie dream girl of vehicle combat. Most battles feature building-sized sky ships. That was an entire boss in Ace Combat 7, and the game's just like, well, have 2 of them fight. Fuck it, you use the lasers. Everything you do has a specific melodramatic reason as part of the wider narrative, and just watching that unfold and how it affects gameplay is the real draw. I see no other way of highlighting how this works than to show you, because Project Wingman is a game that you really need to see to believe. Side note, the pacing of this game's missions are amazing. I liked it so much that I made a graph out of it, printed out the graph, and showed it to my neighbors.
Excuse me? Excuse me? Can you look at my graph?
Our first act begins with an insertion into Cascade.
I can't believe he didn't do the Nickelback meme. Like, why didn't he? Look at this graph. Like that one. That would have been a perfect time for it.
Yeah, there's money to be made, people to kill, and most mercenaries are still mad about the Australian incident. But it's obvious that relying on a single mute man is bad. So you're forced to watch as Los Angeles is bombed. Oh no, the horror. It's time to revise our strategy, rethink our options, bomb our own energy sources. This way, no one will get them, except Crimson One, who sees you doing this and gets mad. This will be a theme. Now it's time to steal a boat. We really need that boat, Monarch. It's imperative that you get the boat. By the way, while defending said boat, we make the discovery that cruise missiles in this universe are pigeon-guided and exhibit traits of self-preservation. Now the war is really going on. Like, really going on. It's time to target a civilian airport because it will help the war. We're denying them potential recruits. They don't even know that they're being bombed because the Federation has been able to keep the war a secret for the past few weeks. This is due to the Great Firewall, which patriotically jams all the Wi-Fi across the entire country. There is only one course of action for me when denied of my YouTube. Violence. A lot of violence. Meanwhile, off the coast of fucking Alaska, the Federation is sending transport aircraft to help in the war effort. These aircraft were intercepted, and then the interception was intercepted, progressing for 9 hours until the entire air force of the two nations are fighting in the same place. Every aircraft. And, wow, it's time to talk about that. Mission 11 is Project Wingman. The planes, the trails, the visual design,
Also, can I just say that the music is kind of fire? Like, really digging the backing music right now.
Mission 11 is Project Wingman. The planes, the trails, the visual design, every character screaming into my ears at the same time. It is beyond perfect. An epic battle between two titans swayed only by a single mute psychopath. And that music. This track got me pregnant.
Oh, good.
I think this is a great time to talk about it because the music always fits. Whether it's low tones for a sneaky insertion or a beautiful symphony rising as you descend into battle. I played this mission without the soundtrack, you know, just to torture myself. And it's literally required. This game wouldn't be good without it, and that's a serious testament to the great work that's being done. Also, Crimson One is here, late as usual, and you just beat his ass. Kept in a top-secret facility somewhere on the American continent, there is a woman. You have to track them down. It's for the war effort. So you raid the woman containment facility off the coast of Yellowstone, and she boards her fucking super aircraft with railguns and the turn radius of a nickel. Woman eliminated. Now, let's go down the list. Attack Hawaii for no reason. That's on the list. Attack people in a forest fire. That is definitely on the list. Save civilian lives. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not on the list. It's time to retake Seattle with the Federation in retreat and the war nearly won. With the Air Force in disarray, we're just one step away from... If you're surprised by this, you weren't really watching the video. Do you remember how I said that the Federation basically nukes all of Cascadia? That isn't actually true. It's worse. The Federation didn't just want to nuke us to win the war. They activated all of the cordium deposits in the ground. And do you remember when I said those were used for bombs? That's right. These fuckers just started a second apocalypse. In other video games, war is hell, but in Project Wingman, war is fucking orange. On our way back, we're assaulted again by the same woman. But at this point, I don't care. My retinas are damaged. The Fallout New Vegas part of the game has begun, and we're being sent to seize all of the bottle caps that we can hold. Thank you, Joshua Graham. You may notice the game is now very, very orange. That's what the entire rest of the game looks like, and yeah, it hurts. Almost immediately, we're sent back to Seattle to dab on the hordes of homeless people. This is when Crimson One returns, and this time he's very mad. He nuked his house to kill you, and that didn't even work. This leads to a dogfight, which is the dogfight for Mission 11 with additional mental illness. It's clear from the dialogue that Crimson One is not used to losing. Let's help him learn. It's fucking creepy, dude. Jesus. Have a fucking Snickers. With that detour out of the way, it turns out that nukes didn't really help the Federation win. It just made a bunch of guys dress up like the fucking Romans. And with the UN on its last legs, there is one final stronghold for us to bomb. Los Angeles. Fucking finally. We struggle to take the city, fighting foes in the air, on the seas, and attempting to flee.
Why does he hate LA so much? Oh my god, he really, really hates LA. I mean, he clowned on Chicago too, but let's be real, Chicago deserves it. As someone who lives here. But also, at the same time, as someone who lives here, I feel like only the people who live here should be allowed to clown on it.
Finally, we struggle to take the city, fighting foes in the air, on the seas, and attempting to flee my bullets. But after a long and arduous fight, we stand victorious over the city as the music begins to pick up in the back.
Nuked again!
Damn it, he just does it again. Project Wingman's story is not a Homeric epic. It's not very realistic, nor is it reasonable on any level, but standing over the ruins of everyone that I hate, the sunny D flashing before my eyes, I come to the realization. Above all, Project Wingman is fun. None of the disparate parts of this schizophrenic game work by themselves. The
It looks
combat
fun.
is not Devil May Cry, the lore is not Tolkien, and we are not going to overcome our pride and prejudice. When you make a list, the game doesn't really seem that impressive, but like a chef, if we mix our ingredients well, cook at thermonuclear temperature, and add enough rat poison, we will create a spicy blend that's so out of this world, so balls to the wall, that it makes everything taste perfect.
I love that. And it's fun too. Like I like a game that is fun and there's no reason for it to work. I've always found that enjoyable. Like something like The World Ends With You. Nothing about that game should work. Nothing about it. Like every time I try to explain that game to someone, I'm just like, yeah, now that I'm saying it out loud, it sounds awful. But like actually playing it is so much fun. And like it works so well in game. And it is always just enjoyable to me to play a game like that, where it's like, nothing about this should work. Nothing about it should. But yet it does. And it's like the disparity between that and like reality is always, I like that. So again, I said earlier, it's like, I do have a VR set. I might try and play this game.
The motivation of our final boss makes no fucking sense. His arc is schizophrenia, and his obsession with you is fucking funny. I've never seen someone write a character based exclusively off of projection, but standing where I am now, there's no one I'd rather fight. He's the perfectly goofy antagonist for a game mostly comprised of clown behavior, the music, the drama, the retinal damage. This fight is as ridiculous as the rest of the game, and I wouldn't want it any other way. Being nuked, you son of a bitch. I would like to thank my benevolent weapons manufacturers and defense contractors for funding this channel and enabling my deadly purchases. If you want to contribute towards the channel and ensure perpetual conflict, you can head to my Patreon to learn more. Thank all of you for watching and flying, and of course, your salvation is at hand.
All right. And again, the music is freaking fly. I was not expecting, like, every time these games surprise me with the soundtrack. I always think it is, like, the creator putting the soundtrack in for some reason. I don't know why. That is just where my brain goes. I just assume the creator's done it. There's a couple of these that I've seen recently where it's just, like, the music is just so damn good. I'm just like, blows my mind. Like, and I'm not somebody who often notices music unless it's, like, egregious. So it's like, if it's amazing, I'll notice it. And if it's really terrible, I'll notice it. Otherwise, it very much kind of fades into the background for me. It's just, music is just kind of always in the background for me. Partly probably because I'm always humming or singing or whistling myself. So it's just like, I'm used to it just sort of always being present in sort of a general way. So like this game seems like the music is just ugh. Well, I mean, the music is fire, the visuals are fire because everything's been nuked. Anyway, always a pleasure to delve into the chaotic mind of Max0r, even if half the time I'm like, oh, I cannot follow. I'm like, oh, there's so many things happening. There's so many jokes. It's like, I wish things were maybe just, can I play it at like 0.5 speed so I can read all of the jokes you're putting in? Because you clearly work really, really hard on it. But I'm like, I just can't pause every 40 like milliseconds. Also, why is the Nostalgia Critic always showing up in his videos? I don't know. That has to be that has like been a part of the Max0r drinking game for a little bit now. It's like every time I see the Nostalgia Critic, I'm taking a drink because I don't know why he's there. I don't know, but it's fine. Who cares? Like I said, this game seems very enjoyable. I enjoyed Max0r's breakdown of it. I'm like, I still have no idea what's going on in this game, but that seems like it is part of the fun. So thank you all so much for joining me on this particular Wingman's journey. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. You can share this with other people. It helps to get us out there a little bit more. And if you can become a patron, we'd really appreciate that as well. You get a couple of fun perks. You get to decide on things that we are going to react to. You can get unedited and early content. Just lots of fun things that happen if you become a patron. And I have nothing else for this particular one, so I shall see you in the next video. Cheers.